So as I've been writing my book, Age of Context, I've really started seeing a wide variety of new sensors, not just ones that run this Google Glass or this monitor on my wrist, but ones that can really affect your life and study your sleep patterns and other things. And we're going to see one of those sensors, a company built around a sensor called Beddit, which is studying sleep and what's going on in the bed. And we're going to learn about it right now. And who are you?
I'm Ben. I originally started a company called Zio, which was one of the quantified self pioneers. And I've since been helping out a company called Beddit launch their product while I'm doing my own startup called Rev.
Yeah, we'll talk about Rev a little bit later. But tell me about, you've been fascinated by sleep. What got you into this?
Yeah, so I've been in sleep for, my whole life, but professionally in the last...
We all sleep.
Yeah, exactly. 8 to 9 hours a day for me. But started working on it professionally 8 or 9 years ago when we heard that if you woke up at the right time in your sleep cycle, you felt more refreshed. And that was sort of the gateway to learn about really how important sleep quality is for your entire life.
Yeah. This morning I had to wake up at 4 to take my son to the airport. How would a new kind of alarm clock that would know my sleep cycle, what kind of difference would that have made?
Yeah, so it's fascinating because originally at Zio I would have pitched you and said 4 hours of sleep, no problem, will wake you up at the right time. The reality is you can affect the way that you feel based on your sleep stage when you wake up, but it's maybe 10% of the equation. The other 90% is your sleep quality, how long you slept, your stress level. So really you want to take a holistic approach and approach all of those things to really feel your best.
Show me this sensor and tell me what this sensor is and where you would put it in your bed, and tell me about this sensor.
So Beddit, their innovation is creating a sensor that doesn't touch your body to measure sleep quality. And so this sensor it's a peel and stick and gets placed right on your bed under your sheets.
Directly on the mattress.
Directly on the mattress. You put your sheets on top of it. You can put a mattress topper on top of it, and then when you lie in bed, you don't feel it, right? So unlike a Fitbit or a Zio or sort of those types of last generation devices, this actually doesn't require you to interact with it every day in order to collect really high quality data.
All right, and so this is underneath on my mattress. How do I charge it? First of all, there's a battery in here, I assume?
Yes, it's actually plugs into the wall. So this sensor module is the electronics, the sensor's here, and then that just gets powered nonstop by a wall wart. And then this is Bluetooth to your phone, and that's actually where you interact with the data there and on the web, and it shows you your sleep quality, what you can do about it, and it's actually quite sophisticated sensor given that you don't have to wear anything on your body.
What is this sensor sensing? What is it, like this sensor sensing my movement, right?
Yeah.
What is this one?
So the real innovation here is that this is such a sensitive detector of motion that because it's placed under your chest as you're asleep, so this goes sort of under that area of your body, you can so sensitively detect motion that you can get heart rate and respiration in addition to motion. So whereas something on the wrist that just measures motion will only get really gross, wake up, fall asleep, this can actually determine REM sleep, deep sleep, sleep quality over the course of the night in a similar way that you'd get using a headband but without having to put a headband on the body.
Can you see sleep disorders like sleep apnea through this kind of sensor?
You'd get some information about the quality of respiration, but since it's not a medical device and there's a lot more that goes into really diagnosing sleep apnea, you'd be sort of seeing a doctor to actually diagnose sleep apnea rather than doing it with this device.
Could it tell you that you're a candidate to have that conversation?
Just like if you step on a scale at home and it says like, you weigh, oh my God, pounds. And that could indicate diabetes, obesity, all these things. Yeah, it can be an early warning sign, right? If your sleep quality is low, then Beddit definitely recommends you go see a doctor and can be a tip off towards really getting diagnosed.
So let's talk about the data. So is this your data that we're seeing on the screen?
Yeah, so this is actually the one of the co-founders of Beddit, a guy in Finland, Mikko. Okay. And this is a night of sleep where he slept 10.5 hours. And you can see that over the beginning of the night, he had periods of deep sleep, which is very classic, some nice REM blocks towards the end of the night. And you can see both the structure of the sleep stage, which is sort of the outcome that you care about, but also how Beddit is determining this information, both based on movement and heart rate.
Okay. So, and you could match that up with another sensor. Like I have a Basis watch that I usually wear, or this watch.
Yeah.
That'll tell your day and it tell you some other things. How much does this cost?
So this is currently $99 right now on Indiegogo. They're running a crowdfunding campaign.
For the next few weeks?
For the next few weeks, and it'll be $149 once it's on the market.
Okay.
And there are actually other sensors, a few sensors that are integrated into the Beddit. So an ambient noise sensor and a light sensor that'll show you how the light in your room is impacting your sleep quality and how the ambient noise level. So if there's a garbage truck going by every hour, you'd see that reflected not only on the noise level, but also you'd see a disturbance in your sleep.
Wow, so there's a few sensors in here to do things. Heart rate I saw on there too. This is so sensitive it can hear my heart rate?
Yeah, so that's really the innovation that allows you to get sleep stage from just motion. It's so sensitive that when you're still, which while you're sleeping, you mostly are still, it can actually determine heart rate. And using that, you can see how heart rate varies over time over the course of the night, and that correlates very strongly with sleep stage. So you can determine some level of REM sleep, deep sleep, which is the sleep quality that really helps you get rested.
So I assume you can tell I'm having sex on this sensor?
You would see a lot of motion. You'd see a lot of motion for, a dog in the bed or sex. Certainly possible to dive deeper than that. But,
okay. But that gets you. I have a chapter in the book. We cover. I call it over the freaky line because to put a sensor on you and start letting the world study you, you have to trust that that won't be used against you.
Yeah.
Right? So what's the privacy like on this?
Yeah, so one of the barriers in the entire quantified self space is going to be privacy and data use. And certainly at Zio, we tried to pioneer a data use model that really put the control in the hands of the consumer in terms of what happens to their data, where they move it, what it can be used for. Beddit and other companies have followed that tradition, which we feel is very strongly is important. Right? This data is very personal to you. Right? It's more personal than what's collected on your phone, and as such, it has to be treated very carefully, except for the NSA backend, of course.
That's a whole
the Finnish company, so they might actually get away with that one without
That's a whole other argument. Is there a way to block it or turn it off and say don't collect data tonight, or
Yeah, I mean it's easy to unplug, right? You just literally.
So it has to be plugged in the wall.
Has to be plugged in the wall to operate.
Okay, well that's easy.
Yeah.
Where do you think this is going?
Yeah.
Because we're soon going to have 20 sensors on us that are studying us as we walk around. I mean, I have 5 here and 1 or 2 here and 7 on my phone already, right? And I'm hearing about shoes that are going to have sensors in them and other clothing that's going to have sensors. Where do you see this world going?
Yeah, the early quantified self devices were you had to be very active about them, right? Put on the Fitbit, put on the Zio. And as a result, you didn't get as much data because eventually you forgot or you stopped deciding to wear it, and you didn't get multiple sources of data. So finding someone that had their sleep data, their activity data, their blood data all together was very rare. And as a result, you couldn't do much with it, right, outside of a specific vertical. Where we're going first is that the data streams are going to be passive and everywhere, right? You're going to get your sleep data from your bed. You're going to get, data about eye movements from Google Glass. You're going to get location data from your phone. And at some point, we're going to hit a tipping point where there's enough data that the algorithms on the back end can really intelligently determine how to alert you and how to make you move towards either greater health, greater financial security, whatever it is, right? And so the Zio model was you put this on, you look at it every day. Beddit can move towards, you haven't looked at your sleep in 3 months, but you know what? We noticed your deep sleep was lower, and we've tied that into your Fitbit data or your phone data or the iDevice that is going to go on your wrist someday, and we've noticed that as you've stopped running, your sleep quality has gone down, right? That's the level of analytics that we're leading towards, which is really going to proactively help us live a healthier life.
Wow. Now, this works with a certain kind of person, and the quantified self movement has them. They're people who want to know everything about what they've done. How do you get the average everyday Joe who isn't a quantified self person to put this thing on their bed and start getting into this world?
Yeah, so we think it's essentially two pieces. One, you have to make the data collection super easy, right? Both in terms of cost and convenience, right? So strapping things on your body, running around with them, paying lots of money for them, paying attention to them is not a mass market behavior. So really make the data easy to collect. And then second, make the data more actionable. So, the athlete is willing to like dive into the data and see how heart rate variability during exercise relates to sleep quality, relates to something else. As a consumer, you just need an answer. Like, in order to be less stressed today, take 5 deep breaths now. In order to have great time at your meeting tomorrow, go to bed now, don't have any more caffeine for the day. And that simple advice can be generated when you have enough data.
So we've talked about Beddit. You can get it on Indiegogo for a couple weeks for $99. What's your company? Because you're just an evangelist for them and an advisor. What's your new company?
Yeah, so we started a new company called Rev, and the innovation behind Rev is that we noticed that when we personally changed behavior, and when many people change behavior, they are turning to an expert in their preferred lifestyle, an expert in personal finance, an expert in nutrition, and that expert drastically motivates them. Yeah. But that's usually through really static content like a book or a video. And those experts...
People like Tim Ferriss, or you give me a whole list of them.
Right. Oprah, Deepak Chopra, Tim Ferriss, Dave Asprey, you name it. There's a lot of content that is really valuable in terms of information and building your conviction. What that content can't really do is help you follow through. And I've for years been picking up those tools by myself and tying these two together and saying, here's the expert and what they're saying. I'm going to tie it together with this group of tools that help me track and use it over time. What we're doing at Rev is creating a platform that enables experts to deliver their content over a mobile device and with all of these sensors and behavioral psychology that really helps it be effective.
So are you going to be the guy who, when I go into the Krispy Kreme, Tim Ferriss is going to show up on my Google Glass and go, hey, let's stop and think about what you're about to do?
Yeah. I'm waiting for the day when we can get image recognition on Google Glass and tie that into behavioral programs so that when you see your wife, it says, you've been working on really being grateful. Why not, tell your wife that she looks beautiful today? Or when you see the Krispy Kreme donut, like there's a shock that prevents you from making an immediate decision. We think that as sensors and algorithms become smarter and smarter, that the expert is going to play a really strong role, and if we give the expert access to those tools, they can really help you change.
Wow. It's a fun world. That company's in stealth mode or?
Yeah, so we're sort of in pilots. We've done a couple of really successful pilots with a few great content producers, but it's not public yet. Okay. So right now, just working hard and getting things ready.
Cool. We'll watch that. Where do we watch your company evolve?
So Rev is at rev.me, revv.me, yeah. And then Beddit is at getbeddit.com, and of course there's an Indiegogo campaign running right now.
Very cool. How is your company funded? And tell me about your company, how you're building it.
Yeah, so far, we started this company, just myself and a co-founder, and self-funded it so far, with the really a broad perspective that behavior change needed to be easier, and did a ton of customer development to come to where we've been today to really start working with these experts. So over the next few months, we'll be making some hires, bringing on some financing in order to really build it out. The nice thing about a business that is going to generate revenue, from the first day we launch a program, we already have some revenue, is that we're not going to need a lot of financing, right? A company like Zio required tens of millions of VC dollars, and we think we can do it on a lot less, which is going to be great for the founders.
Very cool. Thank you so much for coming out, and good luck with these two companies.